FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz, and election season, silly season. We've got more candidates. I read today there are 20 candidates in the race, 15 from the Republican crime family and only 5 from the Democratic crime family. What's going to happen next? Who's dropping out? Well, we've got a debate coming up tomorrow night, which promises to be a total sleeper because the Donald isn't in it. I think what the networks need is Donald Trump to debate both parties, and that would probably liven things up and really boost their ratings. But hey, got Gerard Lameiro with us. Dr. Gerard Lameiro, author, philosopher, economist, and engineer. You're familiar with his book, Renewing America and Its Heritage of Freedom, America's Economic War, and also Choosing the Good Life. And Dr. Lameiro, welcome back.
Oh, it's great to be with you. Always enjoy it.
Hey, likewise. So getting down to brass tacks here, I was reading an article and Donald Trump said that he was told at CNN that nobody is going to be watching the Democratic debate tomorrow night, or compared to how many watched the Republican debate so far. The last debate, 23 million people tuned in, the most popular show that CNN has ever done. And I guess the solution is just to have Donald Trump debate everybody and just forget about party designations. Just have the Donald versus the world.
Well, that's an idea. Another idea would be to take the second tier of Republicans and have them debate in the Democratic race instead. And then that would assure Trump being in all the debates, and all the ratings would be high, and the networks would be happy about their ratings.
Yeah, well, aside from those outsider candidates, we're talking the outsiders in both parties, Trump, Carson, Cruz, who's definitely an outsider, even though he's elected. Fiorina is classified as an outsider. I don't buy it. I think she's there strictly as a vote splitter, like most of the other candidates on the Republican side. And then you have Bernie Sanders. This is an interesting election, isn't it?
It is fascinating. We have a new poll out, the CBS poll, and it was just released. And once again, Trump is in the lead on the Republican side. By the way, this was a larger sample size than a lot of them. It was between 12 and 1,300 voters, which means that its overall margin of error is about plus or minus 3%. And that's in contrast with many of the recent polls that have been about 500 voters, and is more like plus or minus 5% in that range. And what we see in the CBS poll, the newest poll, Trump on top again with 27%, Carson in number 2 place at 21%. And then we have the rear guard. But what's really interesting on this one is there was a change we haven't seen before, and that is the third place went to Ted Cruz at 9%, and then Rubio at 8%, and then Carly Fiorina and Jeb Bush at 6%. So we see again another poll with Jeb dropping. But in this case, what is different, and we haven't seen it before, is Cruz being in third place. That's quite a shift.
Well, polls, you got to be wary of. The questions, very important. Who's sponsoring them, equally important. But it's just following a trend. You're not seeing a huge surge for Rubio. You're not seeing a huge surge for Fiorina. They're really just plodding along. When are people going to start to be dropping out of this thing?
I think we're going to see a few people drop out in the next 2 weeks. The next Republican poll is coming up at the end of the month at the University of Colorado in Boulder. Interesting place, a liberal mecca that they selected for that poll. For that debate. And I think we're going to see 2 or 3 that just can't manage to stay in much longer. With the latest polls, we've got, if you look at the Real Clear average, we've got George Pataki at 0.3%, Graham at 0.4%. These sound like interest rates on savings accounts.
Negative interest rates. Low. And there's negative interest in these candidates.
In some cases, yes.
There's a website, I find it pretty credible, called the conservativetreehouse.com. And they've outlined a strategy that was in place last election that gave us Mitt Romney. And this election, it's in place and its goal was to give us Jeb with an exclamation point, basically bringing in all these marginal candidates, splitting up the vote so that the most popular candidate to the electorate can't get traction in the primaries and winds up losing to the establishment pick, who was Jeb. And unfortunately, they never anticipated the Donald coming into the fold here.
That's right. But at any rate, to go back to your question, I think we're going to see 2 people leave in the next 2 weeks, and I expect another 2 people after that debate. So by November 15th, roughly, I anticipate we'll be going from right now a nominal 14 down to about 10. That's what I see going into Thanksgiving.
And then after the first of the year, more of them have to drop out.
Yes.
Obviously, the establishment hopes it'll be Trump, but they keep hitting him with these questions. The media, what will it take for you to drop out? Don't you find that kind of odd, considering he's up leading in every single poll, and he even outpolls the Democrats that he might potentially face?
Oh, I think that they're real worried that he would beat Hillary if she's the candidate, but I've never thought she's going to be the candidate. But I do think they see Trump as being very popular. They know he's a TV reality star. He's a hard-hitting guy, and he's got a lot of money to back him up. So they are concerned. I think Dan Rather was quoted in an article this last few days about he thinks Trump might just get elected. So they're worried because obviously he's not exactly one of them.
Oh, no, he's not. And look, every issue that he's brought out so far, from immigration, gun control, tax policy, what'd you think of his tax plan?
Generally, it's quite good. If you look at impact, it actually will raise GDP substantially over a period of years, and it has a lot of good points in it. I'm not sure I agree with carried interest. I still tend to, I can go either way, but I tend to believe that those folks who get the carried interest, the taxation, the favorable taxation on that, really have a good point. And so I'm not sure I agree with that. I also am very much into free trade when it's truly free. Now, there's some of these deals that are secret that we don't know what's on the side deals, and so I don't know if it is free trade. But generally, I'm a free market, free trade kind of guy. And I would say, generally speaking, his marginal tax rates being better, cutting the corporate tax rate, those are going to have big booming effects on the economy.
And the repatriation of orphan profits overseas. There's a lot there. I'll agree to disagree with you on the carried interest. I don't believe that hedge funds add anything to economic activity for the most part. Not all, but most of them. Outfit like Citadel, all it does is, scam the investing public for a couple cents to a couple dollars on every share that gets traded. Why should they get a tax break that's not available to the rest? Let us all have carried interest then. I just don't.
Well, that's an idea. Yeah. I just, from an economic point of view, there are some people who I think probably deserve it. And as you mentioned, there might be some that truly can't justify it. So I have sat on the fence. I don't sit on the fence for many issues, but that's one I've looked at on both sides.
And when it comes to corporate tax rates, my opinion should be no corporate income tax whatsoever, because people pay the taxes. And really, an outfit like GE has skyscrapers full of lawyers and accountants whose only purpose in life is to see that GE pays $0 in taxes. And the average person who owns a small business isn't in that position. Let's get rid of the corporate income tax altogether, and let's only tax people. I think then you'd really set the economy on fire.
Makes a lot of sense economically, absolutely.
Never happen. I mean, I'm a realist. I'm a libertarian, but I know that barring some freak of nature, libertarians aren't going to be elected president. They aren't going to get elected to president. They're just not. And
and our friend, well, I shouldn't say friend because I try to stay, neutral officially and that, but Rand Paul is polling at about 2 or 3%. So
he could be gone.
He doesn't appear to be getting the nomination.
He's just not an effective spokesman, not like his father was. But even then, how do you get the majority of the country to rally behind what really would be so much better? It's impossible to show you that the country would be 3 times ahead economically were it not for all these regulations and taxes that have been implemented since the New Deal.
Yeah.
You can't prove it. And the thing of business being basically inherently evil in the U.S., well, most people believe it, and the current crop of business leaders have pretty much justified or, basically proven the point.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that goes to the long-range, in-depth education of the electorate. That's hard to do, obviously, especially when you have the schools controlled by essentially progressive socialists and the universities, too. And I talked to actually interviewed a recent graduate of an economics program at a large, well-known university and asked him what was his favorite economics book that he read, wondering, what would he think is the best?
Probably Das Kapital.
On things. and he said, I didn't read any book. And I said, you got a bachelor's degree in economics and you did not read one book in your program? He said, no. We don't read books.
Free to choose.
So I guess that's passe.
Free to choose. Human action. God, I've read dozens, if not hundreds, over my lifetime. And this is a problem here that's a problem with all education in America. We can get into that another time. So I don't know if you're a betting man or not, but odds on Trump getting the nomination and then going on to be president?
I haven't done that. I haven't done any forward-looking. I do have some polling models that can do that, but I haven't done that. I'm not used to having 15 people in a model. One of the issues with polling right now is the fact that it's a multi candidate race, and most of our knowledge and science around polling has to do, and even modeling, has to do with 2-people races. We've got that down a little better than when you've got 14 at the moment. Mm-hmm. So I'm not giving odds. I think there's a chance that Trump will get it. I also think that any of the top 6 could get it too, depending on who drops out when and what other events might happen. For example, if we have a terrorist attack, that's going to favor some candidates over others. If we have a stock market drop in the next 2 weeks, that's going to affect some people. So I think Trump is a definite possibility, but I also think there's a few others that could get this nomination.
What about Jeb? Is he still in the running, or is he toast?
I think Jeb is out. That's an opinion, but it's based on the fact that the momentum has shifted away from him. He's also got problems with donors. Some donors have left, and I think they're looking at Carly Fiorina. Some donors have left and have gone to Marco Rubio. And, we had a poll, I think it was October 2nd, where Jeb got only 4% of the vote. If you're a major candidate, you need to be above, 5%, even in a large race. And getting numbers in the 4s, that's getting down sort of like what a Santorum or Huckabee. Huckabee got 4% in the same poll that Bush did. And I don't think anybody today would say Huckabee's got a chance to be nominated. So I think Bush is out of it. I think he is so lackluster. I've listened to him in depth on a lot of occasions, and even looking at his photographs in the press, they look like a tired person who's listless, who doesn't really care about getting the nomination. And you don't win a nomination for president if you don't want it.
Low energy candidate, as the Donald referred to him.
I think Donald wasn't critical. I think he was absolutely correct. I think that's an observable fact because I observed it before Trump ever said it.
Yeah, he just really is not connected with himself. You don't really know why he wants to be president. Trump, of all the candidates, enunciates the best vision and the best reasons for why he's running.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt in your mind, right, why he's running.
And that's why he's ahead. And you also notice that he's toned down his rhetoric a little. He's not saying things quite as outrageously. So he's catching on that not only do Americans want you to be politically incorrect, which they do. Yeah, they're mad at a lot of things.
Absolutely.
But they also want you to be presidential in demeanor. They want you to sort of hit hard, but, hit above the belt.
I agree. Look, he's hardly a perfect person. He can laugh at himself. Yeah, he can definitely laugh at himself, right? And that's a real plus. He is an entertainer, so he's keeping you engaged and amused. And we haven't had a candidate like him in a long time that really brings new blood into the whole mix. So there's a lot of pluses to Trump here. Whether he makes it or not, I can't say. I just don't know. But I certainly wouldn't count him out till the last bell.
I'll tell you who I think will get it if he doesn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
If for some reason he decides to back off or some reason he doesn't turn out to be the winner, I think Carson or Cruz, the two C's, will be one of those three. Trump, Carson, or Cruz have the highest probability, in my opinion, not in any of my models because I haven't run models for the nomination. But I think Cruz has a very strong structure that he's working with. He's hired some good analytical scientists, and I think he has a good in-depth strategy. Carson is soft-spoken but very strong, and I think people love that character. And also, Carson has one of the highest favorability ratings I can ever recall anyone having. One poll, I think he had 83% favorable, maybe 7% unfavorable. I mean, that's incredible. Donald has really good favorability ratings. Surprisingly, Fiorina, despite her good performance at the second debate, she's way below, about 20 points below Trump on favorability. Now, what does that tell you?
Yeah, well, there's been no surge for her. There's been no surge for Rubio, although the mainstream media is trying to convince you that there has been. Anyway, I think the next time we talk, Dr. Lameiro, we'll have a much clearer picture of where this thing is heading. Because, look, if Trump stays on top for another month and he increases a little bit after a few candidates drop out, because there's still people that don't believe that Trump is in it to win it, I think he stays up there another month, it's going to be virtually impossible to take him out. But we will see. Well,
he's got the financial resources to back himself, too. He doesn't have to waste his time going to fundraisers in Hollywood or someplace. He basically has the money. And a lot of what candidates do to use up their personal energy and stuff is fundraising. He doesn't have to do that. That's a great plus.
And do you know how much he spent on advertising? I saw an interview with him. Do you know what his advertising expenditures have been so far?
I've seen it, but I forget the exact number, but it's not much.
It's $0. Zero.
Oh, I thought you meant total campaign costs.
No, just advertising, campaign ads. I mean, they got Hillary ads going all over the place and Jeb ads. They've blown millions, tens of millions of dollars to no avail. And yet Trump has not spent $1 on advertising. What does that tell you? And he's number one.
It tells you don't need advertising. If you've got the persona that gets a lot of public relations for free, you don't need to buy any advertising.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
If he continues to do that and the media willingly gives him that free time because they don't know what else to do, he gets the ratings, they go with the ratings.
Mm-hmm.
So he's in a great position.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't agree more. Anyway, hey, just tell us, Dr. Lameiro, website, how we get your books.
Yeah, sure. Well, I've got 3 books that are currently available on Amazon: The Renewing America and Its Heritage of Freedom, America's Economic War, which is a great book on economics, and then also Choosing the Good Life. And then in terms of website, it's GerardLameiro.com. Gerard is Gerard. Lameiro, Lam, is in Massachusetts, EIRO. The vowels are in alphabetical order, AEIO.
All right.
.com.
All right. And as always, you will find the link in the show notes to this interview on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. I know a lot of you access the interviews on your desktops, so check it out there. This podcast was brought to you by libertyhealthshare.org. Save 80% or more on your healthcare insurance costs. And while you're at financialsurvivalnetwork.com, take a look at the articles. We're taking articles from all over the world about what's happening right now to the world financial system. You need to know, because there's a lot going on that they're just not telling you about. So anyway, Doctor, we will talk to you soon. Be well, and thanks so much for being on again.
Oh, it's great to be on your show. You've got a great show.
Thanks. Talk to you soon.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.